other populists in Europe and what that label might even mean. Of course, no consensus on that. I'll introduce my panel again. Massimiliano GAMBARDELLA, former election candidate for the Five-Star Movement of Beppe Grillo. Gérard Dussillol, chairman of the Public Finances Department at the Thomas More Institute. Toni, Cruanyes, correspondent for the Spanish channel TV3. And Yves Bertoncini, director of the think tank Notre Europe, or Our Europe. Welcome back to all of you. Let's kick off with the economic picture in Europe in the light of this election in Italy. The European Commission has issued a bleak forecast for the Eurozone a few days ago. It shows a likely shrinking of the economy in southern Europe. You can see there those countries in red. Italy on negative 1% of growth projected for 2013, but obviously it's not confined to Italy. We can also see the Netherlands expected to contract, and very seriously Slovenia in the east, minus 2%. In Central Europe, pretty sluggish growth, really just above, only slightly above 0%, not even reaching 1% in most of those Central European countries, and only Estonia expected to grow by 3%, doing well there in the Baltics. However, the European Commission President, José Manuel Barroso, has prescribed more of the same medicine. Let's take and listen to him.
The question we have to ask ourselves is the following. Should we determine our policy, economic policy, by short-term electoral considerations or by what has to be done to put Europe back in the way for sustainable growth, namely increasing its competitiveness? And for me, the answer is clear. We should be serious when we discuss policy, economic policy, and not give up to immediate political or party considerations.
Massimiliano GAMBARDELLA, so the same music from the European Commission there.
So, first of all, we will arrive in the parliament. We are already not in the parliament. We will be in the parliament the 15th of March. And the -1 is definitely the fault of our politicians. They stolen a lot of money. I don't know if you follow the Italian newspaper, but each day you have some politician that stole something, and this is only what we see. I cannot imagine what is behind what we do not see. So first of all is this one. One of the motivation that put us to go in the parliament, I will remember, we are just citizens. We are not people that would like to have a politician career. Nobody of us has a politician career. So we are just citizens, and we want to stop that. We start already to stop that, like an example in Parma. We just denounced the old measure, and now the measure is in jail. And we block 3 million euro of stuff stolen by the old measure. So first of all, let us the time to reset the Italy,
clean up of the political system, of course, to improve public finances. Gérard Dussillol, do you think that's the answer, or does it, the problems run much deeper than this?
The problem we've seen in Greece and now in Italy, and that is maybe arising in Spain, is a mistrust vis-à-vis the political system and the politicians. Because you're mentioning a high level of corruption. In Greece, it was amazing. In Spain, we're talking about high level of corruption too. So the people are in a deep crisis. They have huge unemployment. And in the same time, you see people that are supposed to support, to help, and to find a way out of the crisis that are still filling their pocket with a substantial amount of money. So that's not so much a reaction towards the politics in itself, but towards the politicians, towards a system, more than the measures that are in the pipes. I think that's very, very, very important. And in France, the politicians have not such image now, so we have not such kind of reactions. And that's basically one of the key problem of this populism reactions.
So is José Manuel Barroso right then? So this is a protest vote against the local elites, not against European fiscal medicine as a whole?
Well, it's a combination of the two, of course. I suspect that the percentage of anti-European vote can be important in Italy, even if the national dimension is more important. I think it's more important. But what was interesting in the figures you've shown us is that, of course, it's a very general problem. Of course, I share your views. I share the views of what you've said about national political system. But we are confronted with a very, very harsh crisis. By the way, not only the Eurozone countries. If you look at the figures and the situation in the UK, for example, it's not good either. It's not good either. There is a populist party there, the UKIP party, and if Cameron has been pushed to organize a so-called referendum, maybe a bit later, it's because of this populism rise too. So the situation is difficult everywhere in Europe, elsewhere too, by the way. But there is an important figure in the map you've just shown us, the Irish one. The Irish one. Look at the Irish one. Of course, it is true that there's a problem between rigor on the one hand and growth on the other hand. The balance established at the European level is not optimal. There should be more pro-growth measures. But on the other side, if you look at the Irish growth prospect, you can see a country which was hit by a major crisis, a financial real estate crisis, a bit similar to the Spanish situation, by the way. It made a lot of very important efforts, socially costly efforts. And look at the situation. The Irish economy is recovering. And this can explain why President Barroso, even if he's at least partially wrong, this can explain why he says, well, we should go on, because if we go on, we could have a better situation. And the Irish situation shows that it could be helpful. It could be, we could see the end of the tunnel at the end of the day, which was not the case in Italy, of course, because in Italy the reform have just been made, and the fruits of these reform were impossible to be met.
The big problem with such kind of measure when you're reducing fiscal deficits is that we have what we call J curves, meaning that the first 2 years is worse than before. Before, the economy can start again, grow again, based on sounder basis. So it is very important to see what's happening in Italy and in Spain and in Ireland, because we know that we have 2 years extremely difficult before resuming. But there is another point. So whatever public policy are, don't forget that we are in a huge deleveraging process all over the world. And if you look at the decrease of investment in the UK, in Italy, in Spain, in Ireland, and in Greece, that is the major factor that has generated the decrease of GDP. Meaning if private investment had stayed stable over the past 4 years, between 2007 and 2011, growth would have been positive. And that's just because of the huge decrease of investment that growth has been so deeply negative. And decrease of investment is basically caused by the deleveraging. So this is a process, whatever politician, whatever Brussels, whatever the measures, all over the world, every agent has to decrease his level of leverage. And when you do that, you don't invest, you disinvest. And that's the underlying factor that is at work to explain what's happening in European economy as a whole.
But I think at the same time that this is an accurate explanation of what's going on right now. But I think the problem is something deeper when we talk about these anti-establishment movements that are getting bigger and bigger. I think the problem is that for 30 years or nearly 30 years, we've been lied about what is going on really. I mean, the situation in Europe economically has changed a lot, and we haven't been told because our government wanted to win elections. There's been, for example, in the case of Spain, the amounts of money that we've spent in immobiliar, in housing. All this has actually hidden the truth, which was that we had to change our way of working, we had to change the way of exporting our goods. All this has not been done. Now, we were talking about corruption, okay, but corruption is not something new in Italy or in Spain. It's something that's been going on for decades.
Totally agree with you.
So the problem is that now people is pointing out that there was corruption. Well, look, I mean,
corruption that spurred the construction boom in Spain.
Everything,
through the
banks,
the local
banks,
financing,
political parties, and housing were all connected in what we used to call black money, which was something very usual to talk about in Spain, not in front of a microphone.
Construction represented 22% of Spain's GDP for years, when it represented in Germany and France no more than 12%.
No.
So
that was
completely totally artificial growth.
Exactly.
And that now we have to pay the price and deleverage all that.
Exactly. But somebody has to tell us that. We do have to recognize that and then pay the price. That means that we will be poorer, that we really have to have structural changes. And that is something that goes beyond the political parties that we have, or the political leaders that we have nowadays. The problem is that if we don't confront it ourselves, then there will be populist parties that will confront it for us.
Which leads us into the five-star movement.
I won't try it, but it's not from the five-star movement, but it's from my job. I'm an economist, so it's totally true what they say about corruption. And I want just to put the puzzle in the correct step. First of all, we are in the peak of what we call in economy the Minsky curve. The Minsky curve say more or less something that during the market we have a deregulation, or we improve the regulation to solve the problem of the deregulation. And now we have the problem of the deregulation because of the different product in the bourse. So it is good to start, but after other people try to be too much confident and to make error and make corruption, and so you have a crisis. It's the same when you have too much regulation. So if you look on the internet, we are the people of internet, Minsky curve, you can just see from the 29 to now exactly the tendency of the Minsky curve. It's always the same. So we know. The problem is that in Europe, due to the fact that we have too much corruption in our country, I totally agree that French politician is different from Italian politician. I have some good experience. It's different, come on. I hope for you that it's different. I definitely hope for you that it's different. By the way, if we have the accord in Europe made by corrupted people, what do you expect from the population? The population will say, we want to change the corrupted people, and of course, the accord that they made in Europe. This is not to be anti-Europe. It's that if you have bad people that negotiated something, you want to remove the bad people that negotiate, and you want to see what they negotiate. You want to put the good people to negotiate the accord in Europe. Means not to be anti-European. Means to try to be clear and to do not have a fault because bad people and corrupted people made the accord.
But here I don't agree completely, because I think in your party, Beppe Grillo has actually been accusing the European Union in all terms, you know. I mean, we've been hearing in your meetings that Europe, that you should leave Europe. That's been said, and that's been part of the reasons why. Yeah, that's.
I know what Beppe Grillo say. I also know my program. You can look on our program. In our program is vote. We want to have a referendum on Europe. What does it mean? It means that we want to explain. We want to renegotiate the accord. Of course, this is true.
But what do you want to renegotiate?
But just one question for question. Okay, we want to renegotiate the accord. We want to. Explain to the people what does it mean to stay in Europe, to do not stay in Europe, what we want to change, and when we renegotiate, what? We are ready to renegotiate everything. We have to put the whole people, the whole country on a table and to say, what's the problem? The problem is the power of the BCE. what's the possible solution, what are the feasible scenario. When we know, and when we decide, I don't know, we have solution A, solution B, and solution C, or whatever, we will explain to the people, this is solution A, and we go there with this consequence. This is solution B, and that are the consequence. This is solution C, and that are the consequence. And now we decide all together.
Well, I think that we are in a club and we know the rules. The problem may be that in Italy or even in Spain or in Greece, we do have to decide if we want to be in the club or if we want to just leave it. But we don't want, we cannot change the rules once we've got the debt that we've got, once we've received the help that we've received, once we are interacting for many decades already now. So it's not possible to change.
Why not?
We cannot change every time that there's a local election.
We changed it in the last years, I think 4 or 5 times the rule.
No.
Yeah, we changed.
No, every time that there is a national election, we cannot have an European debate because this is not working.
Okay, let's bring in our other guests as well. Yeah, Yves Bertoncini.
Yeah. It's totally possible to change the rules of the game at the European level. The only thing is that you need the unanimous support of the 27 and very soon 28 countries. And to take the very example of the ECB status or missions, I mean, in this field, I mean, there's nothing to expect from countries such as Germany, for example. You will never move on a very short stage. You will never move. You will never reform this status for obvious reasons. I don't want to to go on into the debate, but I mean, you can of course propose changes. I mean, Cameron is trying to obtain changes, but I mean, we'll see what he will obtain. I mean, it's if you're alone to obtain such changes, it's very, very difficult. You can obtain such changes in a package deal, but I mean, you need to say first what you want.
But not the sort of radical,
not
the sort of radical, different tracks that Beppe Grillo is putting forward.
With your permission.
Gérard,
Mr. Hollande in France was elected based on the idea that he would go and see Germany and renegotiate something for France in order to soften the packages of debt reduction and fiscal deficit reduction, and in order to spur growth. And what did he get? Nothing.
We are not
just one, just very quick.
One word, but precisely on this. If Italy was to promote more pro-growth measures at the European level, it could obtain satisfaction because, of course, Hollande tried. It did not succeed that well. He succeeded a bit, but not that well. There is a way, not the ECB status for God's sake, but there is a way, a feasible way, more pro-growth measure at the European level because this is at stake now with too many pro-austerity measures at the European level.
Okay, we'll have to end it there. Thank you very much to all of my guests. That's all for this edition of the France 24 debate.